So I just saw The Strangers Pray at Night, and it was actually pretty funny. As many of you already know, I absolutely hate the first movie. The Strangers is terrible, despite how many people think it's some sort of horror masterpiece. Now, obviously, this movie is going to perform much worse, and it is more obviously bad. Like, holy shit, I wasn't even confident it was gonna get a theatrical release. But to me, this film was significantly less boring than the original, in ways that I'm sure it did not intend. This is gonna be one of those movies where I kind of just spoil throughout the whole review, I guess, because it's not like it actually matters. I'd be shocked to find out that there's anybody watching this video that seriously cares about what happens in the plot of this film. What? You're telling me that people die in this movie? What? For some reason, they open up the movie with this 80s callback font and music, which is not something they did in the first film. Apparently now, instead of The Strangers, it's The Stranger Things. What the hell's the point of trying to make anything in this film 80s themed? Perhaps it's because this film has AIDS. And for the rest of the film, there's basically nothing that ties into that. I mean, there's some 80s pop songs that play in certain scenes on the radio, but there's nothing else about this movie that feels 80s except for maybe the fact that it's a dumb slasher movie, I guess. And also the main girl is wearing a Ramones shirt the entire film, despite her character being like 15. Looks like she was totally born in the wrong generation. This isn't a movie like It Follows or even I Saw the Devil where you feel as though it's a genuine homage. Nope, they just have an 80s themed opening title and some 80s pop songs play. There's nothing else about the presentation that feels that way, so I'm not even sure if they were actually trying to do that. It's just strange that it seems as though at least part of the film tried to do that. The first 10 minutes of this movie was out of focus, which I know is a weird thing to say, but that's legitimately what happened. And there were enough shots scattered here and there that were in focus during this period, so I was able to tell that it was not the fault of the projector. It's like the camera operator had never worked a day before in their lives and they filmed this movie chronologically. They just happened to figure it out as they went along, I guess. So with the first film being some boring nonsense about a couple where nothing happens, this film involves an entire family. You got the mom, you got the dad, you got the daughter, you got the son. Twice as many victims. But unfortunately, the kids can't act for shit, and the parents die pretty early on in the film since they're name actors that are more expensive to shoot. When Christina Hendricks died, she didn't even try defending herself. She just kind of let it happen. That was dumb. Now, with this being a sequel to The Strangers, they tried to emulate it as closely as possible. And by that, I mean they were basically memeing the first film the entire time, which was unintentionally hilarious because the first film is a movie where nothing happens the entire time. So in this movie, there's just an abundance of knocking scenes. Knock, knock, someone's at the door. Knock, knock, someone's at the door again. Knock, knock. Oh my god, there's a banging at the door! Two of the characters are running away from one of the strangers, and they close the door behind them, and then the stranger knocks again. It was hilarious. They also recreate the scene where the girl knocks on the door and then says, "Is Tamara home?" and you can't see her face, so it's supposed to be really creepy, but in the first movie, they tried turning on the porch lights, but in this movie, they don't. They're just like, okay, I guess we don't see her face. There's a part where the girl says, "Leave us alone," which I think is a line from the first film, but in this movie, it's really, 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 really funny because as soon as she says it, one of the strangers appears right next to her face and says, "But we're just getting started." Like they actually doubled the vocals for some reason. That was pretty funny. They also have a really shitty no phone excuse because the kids are kids and they like their phones a lot, so they're always on their phones, and the dad's like, "Hey, don't be on your phone. I'm gonna take your phone, okay? We're just, this is a family time. Don't use your phone. I will take your phone." So all of their phones are in one place, and when they get distracted and leave somewhere else, they return and all their phones are broken. Good thing for the strangers, you left every single one of your phones back there in the same spot for them. There's a part where the two kids actually have a loaded revolver, but the guy holding the gun is too chicken shit to actually shoot them, so they just run away instead. That was hilarious, but also infuriating. This is after they killed their parents, by the way. Then shortly after, the two kids have a sit-down talk and he just sets the gun on the table. They have the shittiest excuse for an emotional scene where they're talking about their dead parents. You know what makes for a really great movie? Saving the most emotional dialogue for the two worst actors. And then the strangers show up and they get scared and run run away and just leave the gun. Fucking great. And then they decide to separate for basically no reason. Like, okay, sister, you stay here. I'll go get help. They won't find you, despite the fact that they literally just found us, and that's why we were running away and forgot the gun, is because they found us when we were hanging out somewhere else. Any reasonable person would assume that they're watching us right now, but let's just assume that they're not. So the guy starts walking around by the pool for some reason, and one of the stranger girls starts running up behind him, but he turns around just in time and clocks her in the face with a golf club. But it was particularly hilarious because it just looked like she was trying to push him into the pool. She just wanted to play. So eventually she finds a police officer and she's like, please help, there's people trying to kill me. But as she's talking to him, she somehow doesn't notice the stranger walking up behind him that slits his throat. She had plenty of time to react, but I guess she was just talking really close to him. So she grabs the shotgun from the police car and kills the one stranger girl. For some reason, the safety wasn't on, and for some reason, after firing at her in the chest point blank with this shotgun, she decides to waste the other shell by shooting her again, even though it's abundantly clear that there's still one more stranger left. She was already on the ground dying. I hope you know where this police officer kept his ammo. Anyway, the other stranger shows up in his truck, so she gets in the police car and he starts ramming her. Then he rams her so many times that the two vehicles get stuck together, so she exits the police car and then notices that there's a bunch of gasoline spilling all over the area where the two vehicles are. And she has this moment where she realizes she has a Zippo lighter in her back pocket, and when she pulls it out in front of her, she's making the funniest fucking face. It's almost as if she was fucking with the director on that take, but they didn't notice and they kept it in. She gave the goofiest fucking smile and essentially went cross-eyed. I almost fucking lost it in the theater. So yeah, obviously she throws the lighter at the gasoline and everything goes up in flames, but then the stranger guy is still alive, and even though his truck's on fire, he starts driving towards her, but not at a speed that would actually run her over. No, instead he decides to just slowly drive his vehicle behind her as she scampers away. And when she finally falls over and it looks like she's done for, he gets out of his vehicle and then falls over dead himself, because apparently he got impaled by some glass at some point and was bleeding the whole time, and he just didn't prioritize killing her for some reason. No, I shouldn't run her over while I have the chance. I should wait until she stops moving and then exit my vehicle so I can intimidate her with my axe. That would be cool. Doesn't matter that I'm bleeding to death and running her over might be my only opportunity to kill her. No, it's more important that I carry out this murder in style, even though the only person that could possibly witness me doing this is the person I am killing. It's all for you, honey. Anyway, she wanders along the road and finds another vehicle that's willing to help her, but then somehow the stranger guy that died was actually still alive and snuck up on her somehow. Like he caught up to them without making a sound, I guess. But it doesn't matter because she gets in the back of the truck and they run away. And then the closing scene is at the hospital and she's there with her brother, and they hear a knocking on the door to the room of the hospital that they're in, and then the movie just ends, as though no one ever knocks on doors in hospitals ever.
Oh my god, there's a bang at the door!
Is it not most probable that it was a doctor or nurse or visitor? Man, I'll just never think of doors being knocked again. The strangers will do for knocking on doors what Jaws did to the ocean. This movie was so scary that next time someone knocks on my door, I'm just gonna skip the bullshit and kill myself. Anyway, obviously this movie was hilarious. If you're looking for a good laugh, I'd highly recommend it, although it is a little slow during the first half. It is a terrible, shitty, embarrassing film, but at least I do not feel as though my time was wasted, and I'm giving this one a 3 out of 10. Hey guys, the people that made Black Dynamite are trying to make another movie, and they have a Kickstarter Indiegogo thing going on, and there's not enough people donating, so I'm talking about it right now, so you should check the link in the description, because it looks like it would be a pretty funny, cool movie that I would like to see. If any one of my fans has $1 million just kicking around, maybe you should donate to the movie, or maybe you should give it to me directly. Anyway, just throwing this out there in case that it helps the movie get made. Thank you.